Hello everyone, I am Himanshi Parmar and today I'm going to present about comparative study of Romantic Age and Victorian Age. So firstly, let me share my screen. Is it visible in full screen? Okay. So this is my topic, comparison of Romantic Age and Victorian Age. It is not moving. Okay, now it is. And this is my personal details. And first I'm going to start with romantic age. First half of the 19th century generally recorded as a romantic period in literature. Normally romantic age or romanticism taken place from 1770 to 1830, and it is characterized by emotional language and praise of nature and such things. During this time, common people started reading Bible, and so that they were reading Bible. The moral thing or moral lessons are at the middle of at that time. So most of the work written on moral messages or such kind of things. Uh, and William Wordsworth, Samuel Coleridge, Robert Burns Southey, Byron Shelley are considered as the most important romantic poets of that time. Now the second is Victorian age. Victorian age came in existence during the region of Queen Victoria in 1837 to 1901, and this is quite different age than romantic age. Rather than praising nature, they talk about social concern or social problems, and we can say economic poverty and such. They created work around this subject. But similarity, also have some similarities between both the age. Both age are reaction to cultural changes. The Victorian age is also came from cultural changes, and the romantic age is also came from cultural change. When Queen Victoria came on throne in 1837, we found that English literature, was became quite fainted, and we can. But after the Coleridge, Shelley, Byron, or Scott died, the literature of Victorian age are totally, we can say, put it down, little bit down. As William J. Long in his book mentioned one quote of Wordsworth written in 1835, which talk about the emptiness in literature in the beginning of Victorian period. The quote is, like clouds that wreck the mountain summits or waves that own no curbing hand, how fast has brother followed brother from sunshine to sunless land. It means the romantic age was something which is based on imaginative, and just like, oh, they only imagine beautiful things, nature, the beauty of nature and such things. But in Victorian age they are portraying a reality. So reality is always bitter, reality is always dark. So that's why he told that, how fast has brother followed brother from sunshine land to sunless land. But later on we found that a group of prose writers included Dickens, uh, Thackeray, Charley, and Ruskin had begun to raise in the glory of new age. These are my comparative points of romantic age and Victorian age. First is use of language. Romantic literature is emotionally expressive. It often uses phrases such as "oh," "alas," to give to impression of sudden onrush of feelings. But the Victorian poets or writers are not using such language because they want to show the world as it is really was. If it is bitter, then they show it bitter. If it is sorrowful, it is dirty, then they show it like this, that. So they use modern expressions and languages and make less use of flowery metaphorical images. Here are the two compare here are the example of my slide that, first is John Keats. who was belong from romantic age, and the another one is Robert Browning, who was belong from Victorian age. So John Keats write here that away, away, I will fly to thee, not chariot by butches and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy. This here he use away, away, it is showing something, the feeling, flow of feeling. And the another one is by Robert Browning. He was like, my life is a fault at last, I fear it seems too much like a fat indeed. Though I do my best, I shall scared succeed. But what if I fail of my purpose here? It is but to keep the nerves at strain, or to dry one's eyes and laugh at fall, and baffled get up and beginning again. So the chase takes up one's life. That's all. So here he portrayed such kind of reality of world, and the another one is a totally imaginative world. The another point is idealism versus realism. Prachi Kumari in her article mentioned that romanticism is deep belief in the power of nature. The writer like Keats, Shelley, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and they mostly write about the nature and imagination, and instead of looking about reality, they are not looking reality, but they are totally depends on their works are totally depends on nature and imagination or such kind of things. They only try to describe good, positive side of world and the beauty of nature. Where the where the another side, Victorian writes mostly about the reality. They are talking about the problems of world. This we see in Hardy, Tennyson, and Browning's work. And they also describe about the darkness of world and the distributed world. Also, Charles Dickens in his novel showed mercy of the working poor. Here I think I spelled wrong. Poor, the spelling of poor. The next slide is historical background. Romanticism was in the part of reaction against the industrial revolution, as I told before, when urbanization and factory production swept across the whole Europe during the 18th century. Writers started looking for the nature just to escape from threatened industrial life. And similarly, inequality in economics through 19th century to Victorian writers, they started writing about horror and poverty, and they started portraying dark side and poverty of economics equality. Emotions versus reality. So romantic writers, as known for emotional outburst, as William Wordsworth called them, the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. This and romantic poverty in majorly known for its sudden expression of joy, sadness, and excitement. Where else Victorian literature take literature as a deliberately craft, and they used carefully structure of language. And it's we see in Browning's poem My Last Duchess. The poem use irony, and so that it will become hard to understand for everyone, and and also we found it hard to understand and complicated plot. Then the next slide here is the example of both. The first one is William Wordsworth, who belonged from romantic age, and he wrote that I wandered lonely as the cloud that floats on high over wells and hills, when all at once I saw the crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Here he imagined something. We found that the extreme flow of emotions here, which was related to romantic age. And the another one is from Charles Dickens. He was portraying like suffering has been stronger than all other technique, and has taught me to understand what your heart used to be. I have been bent and broken, but I hope into the better shape. This is something portraying the economic equality, or the dark side of life, the reality of life. So the both differences we see here. And this is the last slide of mine. Poetry and prose. We found romantic age reflected the glory of poetry. The poetry of we found it in the poetry of Scott, Wordsworth, Coleridge, Byron, Shelley, Keats, Moore, and Southey. uh, they only not only write poetry, but they also write, in the romantic age we also found proses written by Coleridge and Southey. But Southey, William J. Wright in his book, that Southey states that what would otherwise have been better written in prose. It means Southey believed that at that time writing prose is very much uh, appropriate for earn money. It is something the source of earn money at the time. They used to write prose and sell it and earn money. But poetry, they wrote it, that was not wrote they wrote for earn money. But in Victorian age era, mainly known as age of prose, with the separate of popular education. At that time the education level are expanded, and readers are also there were so many readers to read such kind of work. So uh, by the magazines and by the newspapers, these Victorian writers are used to publish proses, and so that the uh, a number of prose and the quality of prose are far better than romantic age in the Victorian age. Thank you, and this is my citation.
Yes, so my question is, in both ages you have compared like romantic age with the Victorian age. Which age you like more in terms of literature?
If I consider as my point of view and according to literature, I like romantic age more because they show the imaginative world. I like imaginative world a lot. So but if I think practically, then the Victorian age is far better than romantic age because they show the reality of the world. We can live in imagine for several time, one or two or three times, but the whole life we can live in imagination. That is not possible. We have to face reality, and which is shown by the Victorian writers.
Himanshi, do you find any similarities between these two ages?
Yes, they have similarities. I also mentioned in my slides also that they both are come the both ages come in existence by the cultural revolution, or we can say by after the some movements take place. So that are the similarities between both the ages.